Me tough. Yeah. Nginibingelele futhi. I think you say the title, ukuthi sizoxabana ngempela ke manje. Yeah. Mm. I have a lot to say regarding our condition. Because blackness is a condition and it's a very serious one. It's a condition that we tend to overlook. We overlook it. This is why we can't seem to detect our own problems. And then when we do eventually come to detecting them, we want to orate. We want to explain the issues. We want to explain them. For generations, we are explaining the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And what I've noticed, because I asked myself, these things, they bother me. They are sitting on my shoulders all the time because of what I am supposed to be and what I am. So lo mthwalo uhlezi emahlombe, and I'm always wondering. And I even asked a friend of mine who is in the government sector. He was talking about the disaster management situation in the Eastern Cape due to the floods, and he made a reference to something that was said by the Treasury. So Treasury was claiming that there hasn't been any request for funding towards rebuilding in the Eastern Cape. And I'm sitting there, I'm wondering, I'm like, so I asked him, like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, no. What is strange to him, he said, it's strange to me, is that now these people are trying to blame my team for failing to plan for the disaster prior and after. Basbona la, we are rebuilding the dam, we are fixing the dam and repairing where it was damaged because of the flood. And they are trying to say now, no, it's the dam that caused chaos instead of, dealing with the reconstruction and rehabilitation of communities that were affected. So no one is going through the proper channels to gather this money. And I'm thinking, that's interesting. That's very interesting. So I asked him, like, bro, do you think our people are ever going to come out of whatever this nyawope they're smoking is? And his answer was very shrewd. I can't blame him for saying what he said, but because when you really examine our condition, it's very disheartening. So he says, no, Mena, I think not. That's why I decided to just, just focus on my own family. It's very sad, but that's what he said. And I can understand, because the older I grow, the more I examine this situation, the more you realize that no, I think our people are beyond something here. There's something that says, hey, you can't You can't fix it. You can't make them more aware. You can't make them more caring. You can't seem to jolt them into a state of consciousness and awareness that is required for them to come out of whatever these things are imposing upon themselves. Because the reality of the situation is the condition of blackness is imposed by black people on themselves. Angisho ukuthi you don't have enemies. You have enemies, but you impose these things on yourselves. If we really sat down and we were honest with each other, Babem, you realize that actually all of these things that have happened to us and continue to happen to us is our own fault. Because I mean, I fail to understand what is even this thing where people can come into the continent, strange beings come into the continent, just tear things up, just tear shit up and just take whatever they want and start kidnapping people in the millions. What is this thing that people can come in and kidnap people in the millions and nobody bats an eye? Not a single empire in all the empires in Africa at the time was like, we can't allow that. And to this day, not even a single empire of all the empires in Africa have gone on a campaign to invade Europe and say, yeah, we are here to pay back. Because when you read and get into the business of studying the European history, there are different tribes, there are different kingdoms, and how they were interacting with the Arabs. Hey, they go, into the Holy Land to invade there. But Arab, oh, okay. So Bona, they come back and they destroy each other. At some point, the Arabs were owning big chunk of Europe. And it wasn't the first time. They came in as Persians, they came in as Arabs, they came in before. Xerxes the First, who went to war with Greece, expanding empire. But people can come into Africa and just, with impunity, steal people, put them in boats, turn around and claim that, no, actually, it was you mostly who were selling your own people. And even if there were people who were selling our own people, we still don't have a case where, an empire in Somali was like, hey, who's this who's selling people? Let's go deal with him. Teach him that you can't sell people. Not even one. So you make the realization that the Bantus, the Myanmars, will just look on. They see whatever is happening over there and they just look on, fold their hands. What is this thing? What is this thing? It incenses me. What is this thing that says, oh, they're abusing Usman there? Okay. Because the question now becomes, if you are letting them to do that to your neighbor over there, somebody comes to your neighbor, breaks in and takes whatever they want, and you are looking, you watch that whole scene. If you are doing that, what makes you imagine that they're not going to come and do it to you? Because, like, I don't understand the psychology behind this whole thing. That you allow people to come and steal, kidnap people, take them God knows where, and you just chill there. Because it's not that Africans didn't know and speak about this. Because when people started running away from their own countries, fleeing from the kidnappings, surely the news would have reached Dahomey. The news would have reached Uganda, Malawi, somewhere there. It would have reached someone with the capacity and an army. Surely. Yeah, we have these strange aliens who are kidnapping people. They're taking them on boats. We are fearing our lives because we don't know where they're taking them. Africans folded their hands. They just watched. Just looked on. They just looked on. And sat there and imagined that, yeah, okay, it's happening over there. It's fine. It's not going to happen to us. And then they turn around and find out 2 years later, the Voortrekkers are invading and taking over and beating them. And that one over there is looking, hey, South Africa, hey, what is going on? Hey, Bayabashai. And they're like, okay. Carry on with their lives. They find that 2 years later, they're in Rhodesia, taking over that whole place of Zimbabwe, calling it Rhodesia. And Nakhona, in the most violent fashion. There was no talking, there was no discussions, no agreements of sales. Because the thing about it is that white people will like to pretend like they bought any part of this land that they didn't. The blood of our people paid for it. They murdered everyone to take over whatever they wanted. And Africans watched them do it. Because you look at it from the numbers perspective, it's not true that the Europeans were advanced in any way in terms of combat. They didn't have anything fancy. They had muskets. The muskets will go off, take one shot, you reload, that takes forever. Africans in their most athletic and very physical form would have dealt with them thoroughly. Not even by expertise and techniques and what you call implements of war, more weapons. Not even due to that. The sheer amount of Africans in Africa at the time would have overrun them. Let people come in and set up shop in Cape Town, kill people, take their cattle, rape their women, thinking, well, it's not going to come here and decide. What happened? They trekked through the land, they went through the coast. And they were shooting, exterminating entire villages. And then they come out and talk about, hey, as if that ever happened anywhere. But, black people just like to watch. Hey, bashaya amaZulu lapha, it's fine. Ahlala amaXhosa, relax. And what happened? They came to the Xhosas. Zakhala nakhona. So, what is this thing ekubantu abamnyama that tells them ukuthi just because it's happening over there, it's fine? What is this lack of awareness? If we let them touch one of our own, tomorrow they are going to come for us. And that's why I say most of the things that happen to black people are due to the permission of black people. We allow people to disrespect us by letting them disrespect one of our own. We look on. And they learn. They draw from that. Oh, they don't stand for each other, these ones. We can do whatever we want. And they get away with it. You take the case of this guy, Makate versus Vodacom. Africans are sitting and watching on while Vodacom is robbing this man out of his invention. For 9 years, going in and out of courts. Not even one act of outrage. And the Vodacom thing is it's not complicated. It's very simple. Because all of you who are subscribers of Vodacom, you can literally just take out that SIM card and throw it away and go port your number to another network. It doesn't cost you a farthing. You can just port your number to another network. Just leave them and see. It's a very simple thing, that one. It doesn't need you to go into the streets. Black people can say, hey, Vodacom, pay Makate his money, or otherwise we are leaving today. Give them 24 hours to make the payment and just leave. Go to another network. And that's where we come again back to circle around in 360. Remember, I said to you, black people sponsor hatred of black people with their own money. Black people's money goes into sponsoring racism. They don't use their own money to exercise their racism and hatred for us. They don't. We give them our hard-earned money. And Vodacom is extremely uncompetitive. They have extremely high prices for data, for phone calls, for everything. But they still have the most subscribers, and most of them are blacks. And it's not even a thing that they have maybe the best network. No one has the best network anymore. So what is this thing that black people can just sit and fold their hands and wait and look at another child, one of their own children, being robbed by whites with impunity? He goes and he writes in his own autobiography that he invented, please call me, when he didn't. Even further, the other guy went and did a registration for intellectual property for Please Call Me, knowing very well it didn't belong to Vodacom or himself, for that matter. So you have this Jusuf guy, an Indian, coming in at a later stage, furthering what the white guy was doing, the previous Vodacom CEO, Mkhohlo Tuban, the one who wrote that on his thing that he invented Please Call Me. So they teach each other that you can do this to these ones and nothing will happen to you. And people sit there waiting for Cyril to say something. Just sitting there waiting for Cyril to just say something, as if Cyril is not sitting there as well waiting. A lot of people say good things about black people. I also say sometimes, you're not good people, but I just really, really think that you are a disgrace in how you conduct yourselves in these matters. Very childish. I'm not fighting. But we allow people to walk all over us. We teach them to disrespect us. No, they don't do it on their own. We teach them. We allow it. We make it possible. I'm just saying. The reality of the situation is that Without black people, there would be no racism. Black people fund and allow and permit racism. Ekho nisabayo. Ekho nje. Usabayo akekho. No. Amke ubig boda manje ningasmile kuvele lomhlathi le. Even if Verwoerd can come out from the grave, you'll smile. I don't think they're naive. I don't think they're naive. Black people are not naive. Black people are not naive. There's something else going on there. There's naivety, and then there's this thing that is going on. What is this thing? You can't be naive for more than 5,000 years, 4,000 years. It's not possible. You can't be naive for so long. Yeah, you get Leopold coming in later, wanting also the piece of the action with colonialization, comes into the Congo there, forces people to go and plant cocoa and dig up the earth for minerals, free of charge. Free of charge. And those who can't meet the quotas, he chops off their hands. Chopping off limbs. And black people knew, Aibo, this man is chopping off limbs. How did that man get to 10? Let alone the millions that he chopped off. How did he get to 10 limbs? How are you going to allow someone to come from Belgium, come and chop off the hands of blacks? Nikon. And this is why they can hire black people to go and stand there and carry out this work of evil. Because it's not happening to me. I've got the gun and the uniform, so it's not happening to me. And then Ksasa, it's his own child. While he's away there, pointing the gun at other people. He comes back home with his uniform and his gun and finds his child is bleeding to death. Now there's a problem. Now there's a conflict in the consciousness. Same thing that was happening in the Sowetos. You had black people, black policemen who were busy in the yellow cars doing the askari work. It was okay because they were not taking their children away. Up until the time they had to go shoot up a school protest there in Sharpeville. Some of the cops who were actively a part of the government found that their children were being shot at there. So how do you come into a country and start chopping off hands and limbs and legs and what have you? You chop off heads, millions of people, you chop them. And the thing about it is, you didn't bring no million people to do this thing for you. You brought a handful. But Amanda just watch and walk and look on. Oh, shame. Hey, asikwazi kwakwenzeke eCongo, bandla. Hey, yazi basibakhohlakala belungu. He's just sitting there. Hey, yazi njena. And Leopold could come and do that because he had learned. The British came in and they did this thing and they didn't get no appends. Okay. I'm sure it's Africa, so we can do whatever the hell we want with those savages. And that's what they came in to do. The Nazis come in the 1930s. Late 1930s to the 1945. They come into was it Namibia, Windhoek. They do the worst to the Herero people there. Whatever genocidal insanity they were imagining to do to the Jews, they did there 16,000 more times. You don't get to hear a lot about it because black people just look on. There's no outrage. They just look on. They're just like, oh, okay. They did all those things while you had EMK in exile, you had SWAP, or you had what, all of them who were running around, freedom fighters. None of them were like, we are going there. And all the African countries who had independence before that didn't bother. That's why even to this day, none of them is bothering to address that issue. By the way, German, you paid the Jews this much. For Namibia. For what you did to the people in people of Namibia, is none of them. Not even one nation, even Namibia itself, is not tackling the Germans on that issue. And Africans look on. They just look on. And they go and fight my problems like the whole Palestinian thing. Apply for. I can shoot it wrong. Israel accused of genocide and whatnot. Yeah, which is true. It's fine, no problem. It's a good start. But right here in Namibia, the Germans did the worst. How about dealing with that issue? And you know, to make matters worse, to put some salt in the wounds, is that South Africa knows very well that it is the springboard, or what you call it. It functions as the base for all the illicit things that happen in Africa. So all these multinational corporations who go and destabilize Africa, go sell weapons there, they operate from this country. They know this. I'm not even. They know. They know. They come from here. They go to Africa and do whatever they want to do. Cause havoc there. Keep our people fighting and get their minerals cheap. They all come from Europe, based in South Africa, and go into the operation. This is why this country is literally the one African country that has and produces mercenaries. To that effect. If you think I'm joking, go back, look at that Mark Thatcher story. You can work from there. Find out how exactly he ended up being jailed in Zimbabwe. Where was he coming from? Where he was going? And you find that they were sitting in Cape Town the whole time. They were based in Cape Town. But Palestine, you are not dealing with the issues that are affecting Africans. You allow white people and their mercenaries and thugs to come and set up camp in this country and go and cause havoc in the rest of Africa. I wouldn't be surprised if most of the guns that are being sent and weapons being sent to Congo don't originally come from this region. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And we look on. I'm sure they have the intelligence on this thing. I don't have to even debate it. But that's what South Africa functions as internationally. That's what they function as. Anyone who wants to come and do anything nonsensical in Africa, from the multinational corporations and the what you call them, those clandestine operations, they come and base here. They base here. And then they go and do their operations in Africa, come back and chill in South Africa. Whether it's drugs, whether it's guns, whatever it is. It is what it is, you know. But What is this thing that says Africans can just watch? How Aram senkos, yazi uVodacom ukhohlakele. Kodwa naye ugrade wayengathathanga 43 million. Is what they are saying. Abantu abamnyama. It's okay because it's happening to Makate laphana. You don't even know them. You don't even know him. Ubona ngaye nje ku-TV. Hayi nxa uzoba right. Until it's your baby. Hamba ingane yakho ihlakaniphe idele and invent something bayintshontshe. Then they'll do it. Angithi sesibafundisile. Yeah, they'll do it. Bayafunda phela. They're not stupid. They learn. They learn. That's another. I think maybe that's another problem, is that we don't give the other people the credit for being clever. They're very good at reading the room. Extremely very good at reading the room. Like, oh, laba. Okay, this is how we move. And that's why that man could confidently tell JJ Tabani that he's talking bullshit. Yeah, because they have learned you can do whatever you want to black people. Anywhere in this world, you can do whatever you want, you can do it, and they will not do nothing. The worst they can do is they'll get upset for a couple of days or a couple of hours, but and that's it. Just outrage and it fizzles out. Gone. I'll say it again. Racism wouldn't exist without black people. Black people have allowed the most genocidal maniacs to do things of genocide on this planet and didn't discipline them. They were never going to understand that genocide is wrong if we didn't do anything. That's why they don't get it. That's why they don't get it. They just keep doing what they want to do. It is what it is. It's just what it is. We just allow them. We just allow them. We allow all kinds of deranged things to happen on this planet. We don't have to say we are permitting you. We just sit there and watch. Awu, sebenzani manje? Awu Nkosi yami. And that's it. I don't believe it's naivety. It's just disgraceful behavior. It's behavior that is extremely uncouth. Now, I always wonder, where does it come from? What is this notion that you can just sit and watch? Sit and watch while people are doing izinto engakaze niyibone zenziwa. Abantu benza imhlola nithule. Thule nje niyabukela, just watch. Anyway, that's all I want to say today. I think it's outrageous. It's outrageous. I think we need more outrage. But most importantly, we need to reorganize our consciousness. We really need to. Because things that are happening in Sudan today, and they have been happening in Sudan and the Congo and everywhere else, all of these things that are happening, they will continue to happen for generations to come, because Africans allow evil things to happen on this planet. No one else. No one else. We are the oldest people here on this planet. We should know better. But we allow evil things to happen. We allow evil people to exist without fear. Ingakho sihlula iy'ngane zethu, sihlula imiphakathi yethu, yonke into yasihlula manje, because we have allowed evil to proliferate. We are going around praying against evil in the churches and everywhere, while on the other hand, we are permitting it to exist. It is insanity, really, when you think about it. It's insane that people that claims to be deep as this one, they just can't seem to figure it out. No. If we want 1, 2, and 3 to happen, then we need to stop letting 1, 2, 3 happen, 3 and 4 happen. So we look on. We look on. Whatever happens, we just look on. They were taking people and killing them and burying them in the farms. And it was black people who were digging the trenches in those farms, farm workers. And they kept that to their graves. Some people are still looking for their families that they lost during the apartheid years. But there are farmers or farm workers who are black who knew, who saw Amapunu doing these things, never said anything to this day. And they looked on. They looked on when people were being dragged until they died, dragged behind a yellow police van. They were booming. Angeke shooting tin, angeke foot. But if you are intelligent enough, you will see what I'm getting at here. We can't afford to look on anymore. Now stop. Just be solution oriented. We can't afford to be looking on. That is just, it's over there, it's done. We can't afford to be talking, discussing peace and trying to reason with people who don't want to reason with us. We've tried that, it doesn't work. We can't be praying. We prayed long enough. That one is over. What is left now is to organize. Not for political means, not for toy-toying in the streets. Let's militarize ourselves. That's what Africans need to do. Get itself militarized. But I'm just saying, if you don't militarize yourself, you might be looking at apartheid 2.0. You are literally staring down the barrel of another oppression. But get yourself a gun. Get yourself a piece. Get acquainted with self-defense things, all those things. Jiman. That's all I'm saying. Maybe let's ask Jima, because le yokuthi siyibheka izinto siyiquestion isazosihlula isikhathi eside. Le yokuthi ke singavumi ukubukela omunye umuntu ofana nathi kwenze isihluku kuyena and imagine that it won't happen to us. I'm just thinking perhaps that one is still too far-fetched. The realigning of the consciousness of the black person, I think it's a battle that's still an uphill one. People have come in and tried. Bafiko Malcolm X, Bafiko Banban trying. Kosiam, and they've changed my tunes so many times. They tried to, they left long speeches. It didn't land. Didn't land. But black people need to jima. Everywhere. All of them. Even your children. akujimwe. That's my only solution for this matter. I'm not going to be advocating nonsense of praying and talking over and over, doing things that have failed for thousands of years like we are crazy. There's one language that we have not spoken to the world. There's one language that we have not spoken. We have spoken all languages. We have spoken the law, we have spoken this one, we've spoken this one. And some of you still think that you are friends with these people, so cool need to speak these other languages. But there's one language that we have not spoken. Yod. We have not spoken the language that people understand very quickly. And you are not working. Because if we were intelligent in dealing with these very clever people, in 1994, the government of the ANC should have run a conscription campaign for all 16-year-olds and above. Go and do basic military training, all Africans. That's what they should have done. That was the first thing, because what that would have done is it would have introduced an entire generation to discipline of conduct. It would have created for us capacity to defend our communities. We wouldn't be having a lot of these discussions. We wouldn't be having Amanyaobe boys over and over here. We would be looking at a more structured community. Because see, what happens is when you uthatha abafana uyobabutha ubafundise izinto zempi, you give them structure in the context of the nation, outside of the home. You see? So this is why you have all these black children walking around here without the care of the world, not understanding that they are part of a nation. They don't represent a nation, they represent themselves. And when they represent themselves, clever people come in and give them drugs and alcohol and tobacco, so that they kill themselves quickly and amount to nothing. That was the missed opportunity of 1994. One of the main things that they should have done, conscripting. I don't think but I heard someone say that they had said it would be a bad idea because it will cause a civil what or a coup. They said that's what they said. That's what they rationalized. And of course, looking at the situations that are going on now, you can see why they were afraid of that situation. But it's a missed opportunity in the context of South Africa, the rest of Africa as well. Because the thing about you end up with bullies all the time. You have this entire community that is not military trained, that has no experience in handling weapons and self-defense. And then you have this bunch of goons who go and get given guns by Europeans and then come and terrorize a community. And the community can't defend itself. They pick up and leave, as we see in the Congo, we see in Sudan, we see everywhere. Our people keep picking up their things and they're leaving, running away from these criminals and goons sponsored by the West. It is what it is, because otherwise, where would they be getting those guns? I don't think. Well, now, if you were to do it now, Kingdom Truth Unveiled, you are asking if they are not going to use the military training for more cash in transit heists. If they were to do it now, in these conditions, I think definitely that would be the case. But had they done that in 1994, or even just prior to 1996, there, just after drafting the constitution, because I think maybe there would have been a bone of contention. If they had done that at that time, I don't think we'd have that problem of cash in transit today. Because you find the biggest problem with black youth is discipline. That is the first issue with black youth. If you spend a lot of time with black youth, you'll realize that discipline is the issue. It's a very serious one, especially in this country. You know, we first among a lot of many other issues, we talk about the lack of the father figure, and that father figure lack of is a symptom also of a bigger issue of discipline. We are lacking discipline. We are an entire generation, I think 2 or 3 generations now, zero discipline. You know, this is why we can't process the world in a sense of, okay, things are not going our way. How do we solve this mess? We can't deal with the stress of this nation that's falling apart. We add to it because no one is disciplined. So, no, they wouldn't use it for more cash in transit if it was done 96, 94 there. But if you were to do it now, obviously you stand at risk that they're going to use it for cash in transit heists. And you know, the thing about the military, you must also remember that it's not just about people learning combat and using guns. There's different arenas and different skill sets that people can go in and be trained into doing. Those who want to be engineers can become engineers. Come out of there. Here's the thing. You see the pattern, this pattern in Japan, you see this pattern in China. The manufacturers that eventually come out from the Red Army, remember, those people were the Red Army's mechanics and engineers. Those are the people who started to come out and started building automobiles in China. Same thing that happens in the empire, Japanese empire troops. Those engineers who were engineering, Toyota, for example. Toyota comes in as Japanese manufacturing military vehicles. You go to the history of Toyota. Toyota comes in manufacturing armor vehicles. Everybody actually in Japan, in the automotive space, they come out from there. And then they transition into Amalokuzan, what you call this, public, public vehicles for public consumption. And what Toyota did at the time to transition into a public use vehicle, they had to orchestrate things like Nissan being the brother company, Nissan. That's what Nissan is, brother. So they had to come in and use or Datsun there to come and build smaller vehicles for the general public, and that's how they now learned what the actual public wants versus what the military wants, and then they expanded from there. So you get that you will find a lot of things that you are going to need. A lot of technologies coming into public space because of military men. That's what has happened. This is why there's a discussion and an unspoken discussion in I think it's in America. It's Gen X versus Gen Z, and the other one is saying, you guys are weak. You're not building anything. You know, you are just taking whatever we did. You're not doing. There's nothing that you are building. Yeah. So that's because today's generation doesn't really go into the military and come out with things anymore. Yeah. Instead, you have these corporations now that are now what you call this, contractors to the military. So the military's engineers don't tend to be involved in the development and research and invention business anymore. They outsource that. So that's where the issue now is. But in the context of Africa, for this particular matter, we could just do it inside the military and then develop from there. We don't have the money to be giving Orayo Theon Nabobanban to come in, you know. Of course, there are smaller companies that we purchase technologies from for the military. But I think if we can allow our comrades to go into the military, asemancane afunde engineer and all those things, and develop technologies for the military, they can come out of there and do great things and have the discipline to do it. I just think that's what it does. And even West South Africa has a company that is owned by the military in the state. Denel, they still have Denel, which, well, I guess now there are investors coming from other countries. But if South Africa was serious, they could buy back those shares from those other countries and keep Denel tightly closed to cater for the South African military. And then you can have an exchange of skills between the military and Denel, like that, developing things. I mean, they're doing good, developing interesting drones that they are selling to the rest of the world. That's, but we missed an opportunity. We could have gotten extremely capable, very, very disciplined generations of young men. That's my view. I'm a shooting team, but I speak to the kids, man. I see the kids are not disciplined, and because the peer group is not disciplined. It's not going to help because who are not disciplined. And the peer group is a powerful entity. I speak about the peer group, yeah. That entity is the most powerful entity in the community. You can't do nothing to it. So now, if everyone gathered together and said, okay, we are sending all our boys, get into being proper men, and they come back, steal this man, that would have resulted in a very different agenda and different direction. I'm saying these things, but ngizokuthatha kancane only to find out ukuthi ngibonile somewhere ukuthi hawo yazi some of you are getting it. Seninama-camp nina la eniwenzayo la enihambisa iy'ngane ukuthi ziyokwenziwa some pseudo military manhood thing ezinganzeni, but nihambisa iy'ngane ey'hluphayo nithi hayi kumele ahamba kwi-camp. Mbone lapha, I think it's ngoMpumalanga lapha kuLimpopo. I think that's why they are doing these things. We are paying top dollar for those schools. So it's not something that is far-fetched. People just come here and act as if what I'm saying is completely far-fetched, but we are told, oh, okay. We can't go forward, guys, without trying to organize ourselves. It's not going to happen. You can toy until Jesus comes back. You're not going to get anywhere. mfazi, ndoda, gogo, mngane. Nje man. Simple as that. Akungadlalwa nje, akungadlalwa. Anyway, angiphume again. Nibe nobusuku obuhle. We shall see each other on Sunday, hopefully. Mate.